Carly and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my October wrap up. So in the month of October, I read a total of 10 books. I'm actually pretty happy with that number and what the books that I read, because they were actually pretty decent books. So let's just kind of run down my TBR for the month first before we get into what I read. So I had Sadie by Courtney Summers, Ruthless by A. Jade, The Night Swim by Megan Golden, Comey Can't Communicate, I'll Give You the Sun by Jen D. Nelson, The Guy on the Right by Kate Stewart, Kitchen Princess Volume 1, The Chain by Adrienne McKinney, I actually added that, and Wicked Princess by A. Jade, I added that because the audiobook was coming out. So let's get into my stats. I've read one book that I gave no rating to. I read 4 3-star books, 2 3.5-star books, 2 4-star books, and 1 5-star book. I read a total of 3 romances, 5 thrillers, 1 manga, 1 book physically, and 9 of them being audio. And then I read a total of 2,817 pages, and that's actually not too bad for my page count, because usually I feel like it's like a low 2,000, but that's almost like up in the 3,000 area, so like I'm pretty happy with that for 10 books. Pretty good. So we're just gonna jump right in. I literally have no physical books to hold up because I read a lot of these on Audible. I don't own any of them besides one being a manga. So I'm just going to run down from the first book that I read to the last, and we're just going to talk about them. So the first book that I read for the month of October was Dear Ava by Ilsa Madden Mills. I had this kind of on my Audible like library picks for a while, so I decided to just try it, especially because I've heard so many people talking about it, so it made me want to try and read it myself. So I decided to pick it up. I gave it a 3 stars. It wasn't the greatest that I read. It was very cringy, and honestly barely think about it anymore because that felt like it was literally last month, but it was literally just October. Today's like November 1st when I'm filming this, so I'm like, I don't remember anything, just barely enough of anything, so it's just, it wasn't memorable, so obviously it wasn't that great in my opinion. Next one was Sadie by Courtney Summers. I gave this a 4 stars. Now this one I also just kind of didn't really like grasp on and remember, but I do know more about this one than the last one. So this is a book about a girl, I think, whose sister goes missing or something like that, and she's like, we hear her story of her trying to find her missing sister throughout the entire book in 2 different point of views, one from her and one from the audiobook narrator that's like writing about it. And this is my first kind of book with like an audiobook, or not audiobook, a podcast. If I've been saying audiobook, I meant podcast. This is the only book that I've read like that so far that has like a podcast element in it, so I like that. It was different, and because I'm getting more into podcasts now, I like that for it being in the book, because I do like podcasts now, so it was cool to hear that. And yeah, I gave it a 4 stars. It was decent. It was fun. I definitely was interested in it while I was reading it, but I probably wouldn't reread it ever again. Next one that I read, that literally I started this in like the summertime. I never finished it. And so that is Ruthless by Ashley Jade. And this is just a continuation on to the Royal Knight Academy series. There's 5 books now, I want to say, and this was the 3rd one. I started this again on my ebook, and then I finished it in audio. It was a 15-hour audiobook, so it was a long one. I gave it 3 stars though, because I don't know, they just get cringier and cringier as they go. As she writes them, they just get worse. I feel like I loved the first one. This is the second one, and I just read the 3rd one. So the second one, it was just okay. Hey, wow, Future Carly here to pop in and let you know that I definitely didn't even run down what the premise of this book was about. And my cat and I are here to tell you. This book basically is, again, a continuation onto the series, and it is a second one, not a 3rd one. This book follows Sawyer and Colton. And Sawyer is Dylan's best friend, and Dylan and forget his name, but the other brother have the first romance in the first book. And then this is about Cole, the second brother, and Dylan's best friend Sawyer. And Sawyer is like a plus size girl, and she not get bullied by her weight. I guess she does kind of have some parts in the book that she does get bullied by her weight, and then she kind of gets involved with things with Cole. Like, she had a crush on Cole. He's really popular, and he's always an asshole to her. He has a stupid girlfriend he doesn't like, and all that kind of stuff. He, like, you know, your usual stuff that you would have in like adult romances and stuff like that. So that starts off, and then it kind of just goes where Sawyer and Cole become like kind of like a thing, and then she kind of gets addicted to wanting to lose weight because her mom is very much an asshole and is constantly getting down on her about her weight. And so she starts taking Adderall and losing weight, and then she has a heart attack.
and almost fucking dies, and it was just fucking insane. First off, insane for this type of book. I was not expecting it. But it definitely touches on eating disorders and all that kind of stuff. And suicide, obviously, very much a lot of suicide and self-harm. And the one part in this book that rubbed me the wrong way is when she almost died, and then Cole went to go kill himself too because he was going to be without her. That just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like, I get it because you're about to lose someone you love. But it just seemed like it didn't need to happen and stuff like that. So I don't know. I didn't really like that aspect to the book. But yeah, it was just okay. And that's all I had to say, really. I just didn't get to come in here and explain what the rest of this book was about. And now I'm rambling, so I'm gonna go.
Definitely like the first one the most, I think, out of the 3 that I've read so far. So for the next book, which is the 4th book that I read for this month, and that was The Night Swim by Megan Golding. And I gave this 4 stars. So this is also one of the podcast elements in the book, which I did like this one, but it was weird. I don't know. Like, I was really looking forward to reading this because everybody has been hyping it up. It is about a girl who is a podcaster and she does true crime podcasts, and I like that you get the element in the book with her podcast being played in the background as if she's like narrating it as we're going to. So there's like so many different point of views in it, and it's really cool because as she's like going to do a case for a rape victim in, I forget where it's at, but it's Oregon. I don't know. But she's going there and traveling there, and as she's traveling there, she's getting like messages and like notes left for her about a girl whose sister was murdered, well, who she thinks was murdered, but she's trying to figure out if it was a murder or not. And so basically it just goes through all of that throughout the entire book, and she doesn't want to help this girl because she's kind of freaked out about it because somebody knows who she is, because nobody knows her identity really. The podcast person, I want to say Rachel is her name. Very basic names. I really never tackle on names when I read books. I just don't remember them afterwards. So I say that person. I'm sorry. So the next one that I read was The Chain by Adrienne McKennedy, and I gave this 3 stars. Again, I remember these just because like they did have fun elements to it, but they were just kind of like just not good enough for me to give it a 5 stars for a thriller. So I also read this on audio. Obviously, all these books I read on audio. 3 stars. It was about how, again, kind of stupid, but it had entertaining elements to it, but it just wasn't anything that like really grasped to you. It's about how they have this chain that goes where you have to kidnap somebody's kid for your kid to get released, and then once their kid is released, then your kid's released, but that's only when the other 2 people kidnap other 2 kids, and it just is a continuous chain, and then somebody's trying to break the chain. If you break the chain, like you get killed, like your entire family's like dead. And so I thought it sounded pretty cool because I heard Creepy Caffeine talking about it, and it sounded really cool, so I wanted to try and pick it up because I've heard so many different reviews about it. So I picked it up, and it didn't really like do anything for me. It was fun-ish. Yeah, it was something to get through the day at work. That's really it. And then the next one that I read, I'm also just as mad about. It is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Ian Reid, and I gave this no rating because I don't know what the fuck happened. I literally was so confused. Yes, I was freaked out. Like, it has that eerie element to it, and that's what I liked about it. Like, if one thing I can give 5 stars is the creepy atmosphere that I gave. It's about this girl and her boyfriend. They only been dating for a couple weeks, and they're going to meet his family. He's very strange. Their family is very strange, and they end up stopping on their way home to an abandoned school, and then the boyfriend disappears, and there's some weird person in the school, and it was very bizarre. But the way that I interpreted it after I read somebody's review, I had to look up some reviews to really understand what was happening, and somebody was able to dumb it down for me to understand. So if you read this book, this is a spoiler, but if you haven't, please don't listen. So it says, here's the deal. The only parts, this is a review by Jenny, by the way, and it says, here's the deal. The only parts of the book that are real, that have actually occurred, are the italicized bits. Meanwhile, the non-italicized portions of the book are excerpts from the custodian / Jake's diary. Yeah, that's a twist. Jake is a custodian, tall, creepy man. No other character truly exists except in his imaginings. And let me tell you, his imaginings compromise some of the most bizarre and boring stuff: an overly long car ride, a stilted encounter with Jake's parents, stopping for Dairy Queen, and then stopping at some high school to throw out the Dairy Queen cups. That was literally the entire book. Just that. The diary was left beside Jake Custodial's body when he committed suicide, ending things in high school. I'm Thinking of Ending Things is essentially us reading his said diary. So basically, it's us reading his diary, and we're all in his head, and it's just, none of it's real. There's no girlfriend. Like, it just fucking blew my mind. I was like, I can't give this a rating because I literally have no idea what I just read till I read somebody else's review. So that was that. Next one, however, was Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesar. I don't know. I heard Gabby Reese talking about this, and then I saw more people talking about this, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna fucking pick this up because I'm curious. I'm very curious because I'm not really scared by clowns, but my mom's terrified by them. I gave this 3.5 stars only because my friend and I kind of like buddy read it. We listened to it on audio. I finished before she did, and then every now and then we'll just like talk about it and we'll just bring up like all the stupid things the characters did. So in that way, doing that made this book more enjoyable and more memorable for me because we both found like stupid little bits in the book that were so funny and that we would just talk about it. And we literally just sat there for like one night and just like literally talked on our way home from work, and we were just talking about the entire book and just being so pissed at certain characters dying or how the plot twist of the book happened. So if you guys don't know what this is about, it's basically about how these kids like live in this town and like the adults and them kind of all butt heads, and there's a mascot called Friendo. Yeah, creepy. It's a clown is their mascot, and he's like all over the town, like he's a big popular thing. Kind of just starts up a war. Like a war basically just happens between the kids and the adults, and the girl's like moving in and her dad's like a doctor, and like they even go after the new girl, and so it's just a whole bunch of different things. And also the plot twist at the end with, I'm gonna ruin it, but Cole and Rustin, that was a plot twist too. Love that one. That was cute. So yeah, this book was definitely really entertaining at bits. It was also really cringy and stupid. It was just funny. It was more gory than horror than anything. So if you're looking for something scary clown wise, this is not it. I would definitely probably say go read it, even though I've never even read it, so I can't really say that. But this was more gore than horror. So next book that I read, number 8, is Wicked Princess by A. Jade, and this was the third book in the series that I was already talking to you guys about, the Royal Knights Academy, whatever it's called. And this kind of, okay, so this one really, I gave this one 3 stars as well. It was just very average. I was kind of at this point sick of the series and the characters and hearing about Liam's suicide for the 3rd fucking time. It just becomes too much and too repetitive, and it just kind of felt like there wasn't a need for a 3rd book because we just keep running into the same things in each book and going over them and over them. On the sister's point of view, why do I blank on her name right now? Bianca, thank you. Bianca, it's her point of view of when her mom died and her being in the accident with Liam that caused him to stutter and all that kind of stuff. And so then all of a sudden there's like another car accident that she's in apparently with Haley, and Haley dies. I was very confused. Sorry, these are all spoilers. I'll put it up on the screen, I promise. But I was just very fucking confused. I was like, what the fuck's going on? Like, what is this? So I guess she was in another car accident, and so she's now all nice now because she was such a bitch before in the other books and make everybody's lives a living hell, and then all of a sudden she's like Mrs. Nice Princess. So I don't really know. It was really weird. And then the romance that she had, I didn't like it with Stone. No, he was really like abusive towards her and verbally abusive towards her, and I just feel like she deserves so much better. I know I said she was a bitch, but like at that point, like, she does deserve better than to be pushed around, you know? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you shouldn't be, like, put down by somebody you're dating. And he would constantly, like, call her, like, a whore and a slut. And I was like, what the hell? Why are you still with him? This book was only fucking 5 hours long, but it literally felt like an eternity. So, that's what I have to say on that one. And then, the next book, I have 2 more books to talk about, and then I'm done, I promise. The next one I have to read my first Riley Sager book, and I read Home Before Dark. I gave this 5 stars. Yes. Okay, so I was really excited going into this because I knew it was about a haunted house, and it had stuff to do with paranormal and ghosts, and I was like, get me on board. I'm going into it. It was like a 15-hour audiobook, something insane. Actually, no, it might have been like 11. But it was actually really fun. I like to do 2 different point of views from the dad and Maggie. And so this book is about a girl named Maggie, and her family move into this haunted mansion place. And it's really like popular around the town because it's known as that after the dad writes a book about it. And the daughter wants to know if it's lies because she doesn't remember anything from the house and like ever living there or any of the things that happened in the book actually happening, because a lot of them had to do with her, but she didn't remember any of them happening. So basically she's going back. Her dad dies and gives her the mansion in his will, and so she goes back to like fix it up because she's like a fixer-upper now, and she does it with her friend. And so she moves in, and all the weird things start to happen, and then it's like happening as they were happening in her dad's book, which is also a different point of view, which he's narrating parts and then she's narrating parts in the present day and he's in the past. So it was really entertaining, and I actually really did enjoy this, especially with how much that I retained, because I'm surprised I remembered all of this, because usually I don't. But I did like it, even though with how the end ended, I was kind of disappointed in that, because I took it as, spoiler, I took it as that none of that was even real. Like, there was no paranormal things that happened, because I feel like everything had an explanation for it at the end. So I'm not 100% sure if any of the haunting shit actually was real. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments or like DM me or something, because like I'm really curious now because I'm not 100% sure, because if that's not real then I'm gonna be mad. And then the last book that I read for this month that I literally read last night. I was going to try and read Kitchen Princess. I never got around to it, which I'll also go back to my TBR because I didn't finish that. I didn't finish talking about what I read and what I didn't read, so I'm sorry. But I read Comey Can't Communicate by Tomohito Oda. I'm really sorry. I read this physically. I read this last night. I actually have the physical copy right over here. So I got this from ALA in the beginning of this year. I finally read that now, and it is about this girl named Comey. She can't communicate. She's new to this school, and there's this guy there who automatically like finds her super attractive and super pretty and automatically wants to be friends with her and all that kind of stuff. And he's like the normal, boring guy, and he constantly talks about that, which is really annoying. It gets really annoying when he constantly calls himself normal, and that everybody just sucks up to Comey. Like, she can't communicate because she has like social anxiety, and so she just literally just does not speak to people. And so I do like her. She is literally the biggest sweetheart. She was so cute. I loved her as a character, and watching her growth trying to communicate with people, because she like wrote right on the chalkboard to communicate with a guy that she was friends with. And so it was really cute in that aspect. And then her goal is to have like 100 friends, and so her guy friend, I forget his name, I'm sorry, he was trying to get her friends with other people in the school, and so he helped her make 2 friends, and they all have kind of like their own little quirks and little things about them. So I thought that was also really cool. So I'm kind of wanting to get into the rest of the series. I didn't hate it, but there was some parts in it that did, like, I don't know, make me get annoyed and cringe a bit, especially just with how annoying he would talk about being normal and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, that just kind of annoyed me, but that's really it. I did although like it though. Okay, and now we're gonna jump into the books that I actually didn't read for this month. I DNF'd I'll Give You the Sun by Jen D. Nelson. It just kind of read really weird. I didn't like the writing style of it, so I just DNF'd it. And then I also DNF'd The Guy on the Right by Kate Stewart, which I was really surprised about because I was really looking forward to it, but it was just really boring and a weird start, and I just didn't vibe with the characters, and so I just kind of DNF'd it after that. I also didn't get the Kitchen Princess Volume 1, but I do plan on getting it to this month, so I do have that on my September TBR because I do want to read that this month. So yes, that's actually it for my wrap-up. That was a really good wrap-up. I am really happy with the books that I read and happy that I was able to retain them and make this video for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, give it a big like and subscribe down below to join the family, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye guys.